Hi guys. Wanted to continue our journey to the 3344 issue and the questions that are uh, significant and related to this topic. So, one of the last videos was about Charles, the painting of Charles III, and I was also discussing Camilla, the Queen Camilla. And so there was a comment in the comment section saying that her last name, Rosemary Shand, could be is significant because it's related to one of the famous horror movie called Rosemary's Baby. Um, it was, as it said in this article, a Jewish horror movie, and it was filmed by Roman Polanski. It's about Satan itself. Very significant because the film, as it says, the film was laced with references to Catholicism. Its protagonist, Rosemary Woodhouse, is a lapsed Catholic who dreams of nuns. The Pope's visit to New York in October 1965 is discussed, as is the Kennedy family. So I don't know why they use Kennedy. As you know, Kennedy is 33. So very interesting article here. And what brought my attention is the guy uh, who was actually playing Shand. Because if we are interested in Rosemary Shand as a last name, uh, he was so-called Rosemary obstetrician Dr. Abraham Saperstein. So if we check on Saperstein, we would find out that he is also 33. Interesting, right? Also, he's a brilliant man with all the sensitivities of his much terminated race. When Guy asks Rosemary if Saperstein is the Cohen, she replies, "No, I don't think. He's one of them. He's too intelligent." Guy adds, "And besides, he is Jewish." Okay, so very interesting. That's the guy who was playing Shand. The name Shand even suggests the Yiddish name, the shame. Phil leads. Dr. Shand was a different person. Dr. Abraham Rep Saperstein was one. Dr. Shand is a different one. So very interesting. Okay, so just a little breakdown on what was going on back then. Also, there's an article here in the BuzzFeed, also about the same movie. The most disturbing moments in Rosemary's Baby actually aren't supernatural, and that's interesting because let's see, what's the here was bringing my attention here. It was fun in a necrophile sort of way, right? And morning after, Rosemary wakes up from being drugged and impregnated by Satan in front of a coven of her chanting neighbors. Guy cheesed her for drinking too much. Okay. Please don't read books and don't listen to your friends either. Yeah, that's what they want us to do. Now, no two pregnancies are ever alike, says Dr. Seberstein. The society recommended obstetrician recommended by Castavets. From his perch of medical authority, can convinces Rosemary to disregard all the pain. It's like a wire inside me tightening. Her unnatural pregnancy is about to cause her and to listen to no one but himself. This includes having Minnie mix up a daily vitamin drink, the ingredients of which she describes as snips and snails and puppy dog tails that Rosemary evidently consumes. Later, he patronistically dismisses Rosemary's extreme symptoms as common and a natural expansion of pelvis, telling her to take some aspirin and stop being so silly as to read books. So she was impregnated by Satan. And he says, stop taking aspirin and being silly to read books. Yeah. So, very interesting movie, I would say. Rosemary comes so close to having her Satan baby in the confines of Mount Sinai. But in the back end, it's not a cover member who tracks her down and brings her back in. It's the very normal physician she goes to for help and who decides she's suffering from hysteria. And they also see how the NBC remake starring Zoe Saldana compares when it premieres on Sunday, May 11 at 9 p.m. So makes 9/11 here. Well, I was I bet if I was finding something else, you just read these articles, you probably find also mm, so many interesting coincidences here. Okay, so next, what we go into
foreign policy
uh,
personally well.
we are going to, let's see, we are going to this interview of Professor Jeffrey Sachs and Tucker Carlson show. So basically, what we know about Tucker Carlson is his last name, Carlson. Um, Basically, the Prince Charles is Carl because it's Swedish pronunciation. And you know that I've been talking about uh, the relation of Carl, all this Carl, all this stuff to the previous reset. Charles son. That would be his last name if it was spelled in the correct way. Carlson Charlson. Okay, so if we take a look, you will find out that it's 66. And also interesting fact that char itself is being burned down, um, is being burned. Like for example, this Ekstrom gazed at the huge charred mass of rock displayed prominently in front of him. So it's also related to Bomberos, to the team of the ones who's burning books, burning houses, burning cities. That's how they got in power after the previous reset, and they still hang on to it. So Carlson is a relation to this so-called family name, clan, and he pretends he is an alternative. He pretends he is an alternative guy who is talking about alternative points of views and so on. And so he's like very modest and so on, so very popular and so on. So, but knowing that you cannot be popular if you not sell yourself to this parasitic cluster, to this parasitic clan, to this parasitic culture, you cannot be a mainstream popular. Although you get kicked out from the media, you still have your audience as other uh, so-called alternatives. As Jeffrey Sachs himself is so-called alternative because of his views on COVID-19 and his views on Russian invasion. Okay, as the mainstream's calling it, Russian invasion. But in fact, this interview is pretty informative. You can watch it. Of course, can find it very easy. It describes all the talking points that both sides have on the issue of current war stage of the reset. And Jeffrey Sachs himself is also relating himself to this information as a source, of talking points. Let's listen to what he says, and maybe we find some coincidences.
And watched Kamala Harris say to Zelensky on camera, "We want you to join NATO," when everybody, even me, a talk show host, knew that that was the red line for Putin. So the only conclusion I could reach was they want him to move across the border into Ukraine. They want a war. What is your take?
Tucker, just to say, until this moment, every senior official in the U.S. or the Secretary General of NATO, Jens Stoltenberg, says Ukraine will join NATO. And one thing everyone that's listening should understand, Ukraine will never join NATO short of a nuclear war. So, because Russia will never allow it, period.
Previously, in this video, he is describing the history. So just this moment is prior to the so-called invasion.
So every time we say it, all we mean is the war continues and more Ukrainians are destroyed.
And we're willing to risk nuclear conflict.
And some people definitely are, because they're idiots. Really, because my resentment gets very high when we reach that level. But we hear talk about nuclear war these days. We hear we're not going to be blackmailed by this nuclear threat and so forth. Well, God damn it, you better be worried. We're talking about a counterpart that has 6,000 nuclear warheads. We have 6,000 nuclear warheads.
So basically he's saying 6 and 6 here.
We have a lot of crazy people in our government. I know it. I'm adult enough to know, over 44 years of professional life.
So as the time that I've been presenting Scott Reader, they like to point out certain numbers and certain phrases that are keywords to what we are researching currently. So he's like saying 44 years of my career here. So why don't we just take a look further what he's saying? And
there are a lot of intemperate people in our country. We have a lot of allies that say, oh, we can do this. We have a president of Latvia tweeting or Xing or whatever the verb is these days, Russia delenda est. In other words, Russia must be destroyed, playing off of the old Cato the Elder, Carthago delenda est. Carthage must be destroyed.
So he reminds another point, Carthage, the city that was burned by the Romans. So that's probably also related. The name of the city is related to this car issue. So, and he's talking to Carlson currently. So that is significant.
Honestly, a president of a Baltic state tweeting that Russia must be destroyed. This is prudent. This is safe. This is going to keep your family and my family safe. Are we out of our minds? And all through this, Biden hasn't called Putin one time.
Yeah. So he's kind of advocating both sides here, trying to be neutral and so on, saying reasonable things, but both him and Tucker playing the role of so-called sewer system, the canalization of protest, the canalization of logical decisions, the canalization of real patriotic sacrifice for countries, because countries are currently governed by those who don't make any decisions. As he's saying in his interview, he's saying that he is well acquainted with the circle of those who are representing American foreign politics. He is acquainted with the international foreign ministers, people that are leading the countries like Scholz and so on. He's naming these people actually. So how can you be in acquaintance or in touch with these people? How can you actually talk to them if you are not part of the circle? So his role is to present their fears and their so-called inability to act the correct way. He is voicing it loud, but actually he is not representing any management system. He is not the guy who's making decisions, and he is the guy who is just voicing out loud the information that is logical and reasonable, but is leading to nothing. Okay?
And I speak to very senior Russian officials. You speak to the most senior Russian official. They say, we want to negotiate. Of course, we'll talk. Zelensky, quote unquote, made it illegal. And the United States says, well, we won't do anything that the Ukrainians don't want. This is insane, by the way, as if this is really between Ukraine and Russia. This is about the United States and Russia. This, everybody should understand. This isn't even about Ukraine and Russia. This is about the U.S. being in Ukraine and Russia. So the ones that need to talk are Biden and Putin, period.
And in his interview also here, he's reminding the case when Biden and Putin talked in 2021, and that led to discussion of the further guarantees of the future security between two countries. And Putin presented the list that he wanted to sign, the treaty, but American side ignored. And he was saying, like, he was calling Jake Sullivan and trying to convince him that it's stupid and so on. What is the level of his contact list? He's an officer, he is a manager of this system.
And I keep saying, if I may say it again just now, I keep saying to Biden, if you want to use my Zoom account, please use it. I'll lend you my phone. You make the call. Start negotiations. I don't like my family being at risk of nuclear war.
Why won't they?
Because they believed up until now, I think they can't quite believe it now, they believed up until now that they would get their way through bluff or superiority of force or superiority of finance.
So basically, he's talking to these people, and he's blaming them to being irrational, blaming them to be bluffing, blaming them to not understand the current situation. Or maybe he's advocating them because they are not the decision-making people, They're just playing their role as he is currently.
They gambled because they were gambling with someone else's lives, someone else's country, and someone else's money, our money, taxpayer money. But they were gambling not with their own stakes, but they were gambling. They're not very clever. They gambled wrong all along. Putin said no. For us, this is existential. For you, it's a game. Apparently the game of risk. You need your piece on that board, as if American NATO forces in Ukraine is somehow existential for the United States as opposed to a neutral Ukraine. And they thought that they would get their way. And I spoke with senior officials all along who just thought Russia won't object or can't object or will be pushed aside or will fall to its knees with U.S. financial sanctions, or will succumb to the U.S. HIMARS and ATACMS. Just one absolutely naive.
That's what I'm saying. Blaming them to be naive is actually advocating them for being actors, for playing the role of decision makers, not being decision makers themselves. Because we know the young Biden was naive. We know that Jake Sullivan is naive. And so isn't the Jeffrey Sachs, because even this video is called, the first three words are the untold history. The untold history. And this is also 66, as you can see. Um, Second thing that brought to my attention, that he is currently president of UN Sustainable Development. What is sustainable development? Because I know this word sustainable. Sustainable is 33, meaning that he is the United Nations president of the United Nations 33 Development Solutions Network, and director of the Center for Sustainable Development at Columbia University. So both at United Station and some university, the Columbia University, in a sustainable development. So he is manager, the theory, the talking head for this sustainable agenda. The agenda that is basically uh, showing us that he is a guy who can kick any door and talk to anybody, basically about anything. Just if we research his uh, Wikipedia page, we would find out that he was his family is Jewish, of course, and he graduated from Harvard. So not so easy, right? Not so easy, but not so not so simple, I would say. His first, great deal was to go to Bolivia in 1985. Sachs was invited by the party of Bolivian dictator Hugo Banzer to advise him on anti-inflation economic plan to implement once he was voted to office. So the stabilization plan centered on price deregulation, particularly for oil, along with cuts to the national budget. Sachs stated that his plan could end Bolivian hyperinflation, which had reached up to 14,000% in a single day. Although Banzer ultimately lost the election to the party of former elected president and traditionally developmentist Victor Paz Estensoro, Sachs' plan was still implemented through plans that excluded most of Paz's cabinet. Inflation quickly stabilized in Bolivia. So, despite that, the guy who he came to advise was voted out of the office by another guy, his plan was still implemented. How come? But Sachs' suggestion for reducing inflation was to apply fiscal and monetary discipline. What a great guy. And an economic regulation that protected the elites and blocked the free market. Guys, come on. That protected the elites. Hyperinflation reduced within weeks of the Bolivian government instituting his suggestion, and the Bolivian government settled its 3.3 billion debt to international lenders. Jeez. Oh, so he was also advising Poland, Prime Minister Tadeusz Mazowiecki. He was advising Boris Yeltsin, Michael Gorbachev, Igor Gaidar, Boris Fedorov, and others who were trying to stabilize economies. Sachs' methods for stabilizing economies became known as shock therapy and were similar to successful approach used in Germany. But by the way, I remember that period of time in the 90s, and it was a collapse of the economy. So I don't know what he's successful. The ruble dumped like 1,000% or maybe 10,000%, all the money. Just hyperinflation ate all the value. Okay, let's see what he was working on. In 2005, he's worked the end of poverty, which is also as sustainable, the same word. He's 33, so he's just the 33 guy, and I'll be watching this guy more because he has a lot of economist references and so on. These Rothschild economists, which not only Rothschild owns the Economist, other people also own. But what brought my attention is his relation to United Nations. So basically, he was a guy from USA to work in the United Nations, and he was working with. Uh, he has he has he had first been appointed special advisor to UN Secretary General in 2002 during the term of Kofi Annan. Kofi Annan, the guy who was fighting with Bush. Bush wanted to kick him out and was unsuccessful because Kofi Annan is a guy from the clan of. People say he was because he he stayed in his chair and got the uh, Kofi Annan was Ghanaian diplomat who served as the seventh Secretary General of the United Nations from 1997 to 2006. Annan and the UN were the co-recipients of the 2001 Nobel Peace Prize. We all know this Nobel Peace Prize value as it was given to Barack Obama and and other people, Mikhail Gorbachev. Michael, by the way, is also 33. So he's the guy of the establishment. He was working for, as they say later here,
idea after another. But you might ask me, how can they have such naive ideas?
Well, that was my question. Yes.
And I'm sorry to put words in your mouth, but I would say, well, I'm old enough to remember Vietnam. I'm old enough to remember trying to overthrow Bashar al-Assad. I'm old enough to remember Libya. I'm old enough to remember Afghanistan. We screw up nonstop. This is not clever what we're doing.
But the people, what's so interesting, so you've been an academic your whole life. I think you're one of the youngest tenured professors at Harvard, but you've also been, I think uniquely, a diplomat, on and off, mostly on, for decades. So you know the people who are making U.S. foreign policy personally well. And the quality of the person engaged in that seems to have declined just dramatically.
I think that's true, by the way. I think it's true in general of American politics. Maybe it's an illusion, but when I was a kid in college, I did my summer internships in my senator's office, Senator Phil Hart.
So basically, he was studying in Harvard and had an summer internship at the office of the senator, Philipp A. Hart. Let's check him out because he's completely, as you can see, Philipp A. Hart. Let's just check out Philipp A. Hart. And he's also 39, which is 33, as you know, if you haven't seen it before. I'll tell you why 39 is 33, because it's 33, And so basically he is all around this club. He was let in as a student, and he was working for this. I might as well keep an eye on this guy. He's also appearing on Judge Knapp show all the time. He's well known. Basically, he was in the Times the most influenced 100 most influenced people in the world a couple of times, I think. So the guy is very interesting. Okay, so going further. Now we switch to the channel Redacted. As you know, Tucker Carlson Network is 77, but Redacted is clear 33 in Pythagoras. And we can see their headline is World War III begins in just 51 days. I often check the first three words in a title to understand if this is related to the agenda of 33. And if we check it like this, we will not get any result. But if we check it like this, we don't get it also. But if we check it like this, as the anagram for World War III, or short situation for this is like this, we can get this. You would probably say that I'm just trying to find this 33, 39 issues, 44 everywhere, but it's what we find in the title. Okay, they try to encode it every time they do it. And by the way, look at the dress of Natalie. She's wearing orange. It's not often that she's doing that. And the background of the show is also with this orange light there in the corner, close to the head of Clayton. So clay also it relates to reset, as you know, the ton of clay, which Clayton might even bury you or some others folks mansion or house, as you know. But we don't talk about this right now. So what are they trying to talk about here? Let's just listen to these folks here and there. Okay.
Basically, this is not fear mongering. This is a call to awareness, essentially. What I'm trying to do, July 18th, by the way, is the date. July 18th.
Okay.
That's a subtle dig. I picked up that salt.
I feel like I work harder now with this show than I ever have. Like even back when I worked at Fox News, I feel like I work harder now doing this show.
At Fox, you had producers.
Yeah, during Fox, we know that Fox is F is 6, O is 6, and X is 6 in Pythagoras. That's 666. So he's working harder now than he was working at 666.
Yeah,
we
no,
had
I do it all
producers
myself.
to write the segments. We had, makeup people and all
But
of
anyway,
that stuff.
no, we take a one day off here and there, but we are going to be off at the end of the month as we're building our new studio. Anyway, we're just going to get to it, and Rumble will have to deal.
Despite their prediction further in this video.
We are back up on Rumble. Yep,
all right.
We're good.
Okay, good. Hey, everyone on Rumble.
go.
Good to see you guys. I don't know what was going on over there, but Rumble is back up and running, and we are good to go. So, all right, good. Okay,
You're so nervous. It's okay, honey.
All right, let's get started, shall we? All right, World War III begins in just 51 days. Set your calendar, everyone. Get your shopping done because 51 days, those aren't my words. Those are actual headlines from mainstream Western media warning us all that doomsday is coming soon. Exact date, World War
Mainstream media.
III will start as new Nostradamus claims it's just weeks away. The new Nostradamus. July 18th, by the way, is the date. July 18th, 2024. It happens to be the exact date that the new Nostradamus warned us about. Yes, a guy that people call the new Nostradamus said this, and Western publications run with it, of course, as Vladimir Kornilov writes this morning in a great piece called "The West is accuming itself to the thought of an imminent world war."
So basically, he is switching the gears to Vladimir Kornilov, as he's saying, journalist. So if you don't remember, journalist, let's see, journalist is also 33, and he's saying his last name, Kornilov. I know this guy because that's why I'm, he is 33 and 44 at the same time. So basically, it's on our topic, right?
If you've been watching any media recently, you see that there's a growing narrative right now being pushed by Western media and political elites. I'd love to get your guys'
Kornilov is Russian.
take on this. I mean, if you see this conditioning that's happening right now, to accept something unimaginable and the onset of World War III, basically. This is not fear-mongering. This is a call to awareness.
Call to awareness is fear-mongering, by the way, because call to awareness is not call to action. Knowing something's happened is not doing something to not make it happen, right?
Essentially. What I'm trying to do is explain how they're preparing you for this.
They, who are they? They. I'm saying they are the parasitic class that is manipulating all of you people, that is sending you the playbooks to do your shows and make money on that, spreading this fear-mongering.
Normalizing this, trying to desensitize you to it. So many of you were calling out in the chat, when that Civil War movie was being pushed on us. Like, what are they trying to prep us for?
What are they trying to prep us for? By the way, there's just a little breakdown. If we remember, Biden 2024 is a 33. Trump 2024 is a 33. We all know that there's Kennedy and also Ramaswamy and all these folks that are, also related to this case. But by the way, 2020 loss of Trump is 44, and Biden 2020 win is 33. Okay, so let's go to 2024 again. 2024 Biden loss is 44, and 2024 Trump win is also 44. So I think this is the case because Trump 2016 is 33, and let's not waste time anymore. Let's listen to what these people say.
What are they trying to prep us for with the Civil War movie that the Obamas rolled out? What are they trying to...
Not subtle, is it?
It's not subtle at all. I mean, when you have all these mainstream media publications talking about that we are either in World War III or about to hit World War III.
But that date doesn't work for me. Can I just reject the calendar invitation?
You won't have a choice if they're dropping nuclear weapons or if NATO decides they're fully going to be engaging Russia. So they're trying to...
So the same narrative, the same talking points that Jeffrey Sachs just said to Tucker Carlson. He's afraid that his family is going to be destroyed by the nuclear weapons. And these guys also relate to these talking points.
Desensitize you to it. That don't worry, folks, World War III won't be that bad. This is what their narrative is right now. Great. Get ready for it. Don't fall for it, though.
No, that's your comment. They are not saying it's not going to be bad for you guys. They're saying it's coming. They're saying it's coming. And you are saying, oh, they're trying to say this and that. But this is not correct, Clayton.
Judging by the last two world wars, yeah, it's going to be a cakewalk. Because if world wars are anything to go by, no one will barely notice.
Went well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the media, it's amazing to me because the media is normalizing this idea. They're treating it as mundane, sort of an inevitable occurrence, something unpleasant, but ultimately just totally tolerable. You can kind of get through it. No problem. Just a little World War III to go along with your election year. Perfect timing. Right now,
How does this relate to election year? So he's trying to blame somebody in fear-mongering, and at the same time, he's legitimizing the elections, which are totally scripted and staged every time they, as you can see, a 33-44 issue on the elections too.
61% of Americans, according to a new poll, believe World War III is inevitable. 61% of Americans? It's coming. Think about that for a moment. We're being conditioned to believe that a global conflict, one that could end civilization as we know it, it's not just possible, but probable.
So the same talking point as Jeffrey Sachs just said, saying like 6,000 warheads on one side, 6,000 warheads on the other side. The world's going to end.
Running polls about it, for crying out loud. The British government, for example, is advising its citizens to stock up on canned foods, candles, batteries, in case of an emergency, in case of this coming war. This isn't just about preparedness, it's about embedding a mindset of acceptance. British MP Andrew Bridgen just days ago told us that the UK government is weeks away from telling us that a world war has started.
And by the way, the Pope said the World War III started in 2014, if I believe it's right. He said, like, in 2013, the World War III started. It was in 2014 that he said that. And he also said it again in 2020, I think, in 2021.
Rishi wants out. We are actually at war with Russia now.
We've got.
They haven't told you.
So say that again.
We're actually at war with Russia now. I met with Andrei Kelin, the Russian ambassador in London, a couple of months ago, and he said that we know that your people are firing those Storm Shadow missiles at us out of Ukraine because you couldn't train the Ukrainians to do it. We know you're doing it.
So basically, this guy is confirming the Putin's word, because Russians know that. Russians know that there's no way you can put these missiles to work correctly. That's a screenshot of how far these missiles can stretch. I'm currently located over here in this orange zone. So these missiles can reach my city where I'm currently located at the Black Sea. And today we've had a fireworks show in the night, and it ended to be the couple of drones being hit by the anti-missile defense systems. Fighter jets are flying above my head like twice or three times a day. So we are kind of used to it already during my last month of staying here. So that's the territory that the Ukrainians can hit with these missiles. And Putin is saying that we know that only Frenchmen or British or whoever gives the missiles to Ukraine can assign the flight task for the missile before the launch, because Ukrainians are not trained this, or even this data is transferred to them. They are just, pressing the buttons, not even understanding where they are trying to send this missile. So that's already a war between the countries, because knowing that somebody sending a missile is okay, but when this guy is going, or this country is sending their professionals to guide these missiles, to put the flying task to the missile, assigning the targets, that's an act of war. Okay? And if you listen to what Putin says during this press conference, he kind of confirms this.
And I mean, everybody knows that there are lots of US, UK, French. The French are in there.
I thought it was the Brits were down on the ground and special advisors.
Yeah.
Training sessions and teaching them and showing them.
Isn't that how?
But they were apparently. That's how we started with the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
Dude, what the frack are we doing poking the bear? That's really stupid.
They're determined to get us into a war with Russia, and thank God we've got someone in Putin who at least has got some brains.
Now you sound like a Putin lover.
Well, I'm not.
So Ukraine's Syrskyi, of course, who took over, who's the new Ukrainian commander-in-chief, said France was planning to send instructors to Ukraine.
I've seen dead Frenchmen already a couple of times during this year and previously. The uniform, the Legion people from France, and many, many French people.
To train Ukrainian troops, which is a significant increase in NATO involvement in this proxy war. And former President Trump this weekend warned at a rally in front of libertarians that in the next 5 months, we may well be plunged into World War III. by Joe Biden. And his intent was to highlight the urgency of preventing such a catastrophe, Trump said.
And to stopping Joe Biden's march to World War III. You know you're being led right into World War III. You know that. You're going to have World War III, and it'll be a war like no other because of the weaponry, the massive weaponry.
So the orange guy, who's been called Orange Man, no, not just for fun, you know. It's the way the things are. He is a part of this club also. Okay, this is the task, not the task, but the interviews of the people in Ukraine and Kiev. What are they thinking about how the war in Ukraine will end? What exactly will happen? And just take a look. This is a small channel. I don't think they're gonna be pissed off that I'm using their video, but anyway, this is what they are saying. The people in Kiev.
Що саме буде після війни? Я, чесно кажучи, не знаю, але я думаю, нічого хорошого. Тому що, те все складається, я не думаю, що у нас якісь шанси перебороти Росію в такій затяжній війні. І загалом у них і людський ресурс більший, як на мене, економічний. Тож ми повністю залежні від Заходу. І, тобто, фактично, наша доля навіть не в наших руках, тобто все доволі погано. Ми в пані ситуації вважаю. А кінець, я думаю, що ніхто не може сказати точно, хіба що там вище керівництво українське, чи американське, чи російське. От вони можуть...
People know, despite all the propaganda and so on, that this war is not ending well for Ukraine. And it's clear as a day because it's a third year of war, and all these promises by Zelensky and his team vanished. And now they align to their people for a couple of years already, lying every day that it's gonna be okay, it's gonna be okay, it's gonna be okay. And look at his eyes. The guy is feeling sad because of the outcome, the possible outcome, what's gonna happen to him. He doesn't know.
Догадуватись, що буде.
Each and every flag is representing a dead soldier, I think. There's a bunch of cemeteries that are growing in Ukraine currently, and this memorial, I'd say it's Folks Memorial, and you can see a bunch of flags over here, everywhere. People visit.
Як ти думаєш, закінчиться війна? Чесно кажучи, війна ця закінчиться мирною угодою, як то і було завжди, будь-яка війна, але, чесно кажучи, кордони 91-го року вже не повернутися точно, бо дуже напружена ситуація на фронті, напружена ситуація як саме і в Києві, і у Львові, і в усіх містах, бо навіть донати на ЗСУ не йдуть взагалі майже.
So he's saying donations has stopped almost completely. Look at his emblem here. That's a Nazi SS battalion emblem.
От, і в принципі, як військовий скажу так, то що кожна війна закінчується тільки мирною угодою двох сторін, і все.
От як військовий, скажи, яка ситуація на фронті, взагалі, які перспективи?
Дуже тяжко, бо Русня йде натовпом, вони беруть кількістю, але наші хлопці стоять до кінця, і там кожне життя на вагу золота.
Ти багато кого втратив?
Так. У мене тут 6 товаришів мінімум лежить вже.
So, this only person saying 6 fellows of him, he's laying down here. And that's horrific. That is tremendous amounts of dead people.
Коли перебуваєш, мабуть, найважче це, коли ти втратив майже всіх своїх, а в тебе задача стояти до кінця. Це важко і морально, і фізично, бо ти вже не знаєш, що робити, і все.
Скільки тобі років?
23.
Ти сам пішов?
Так.
So this guy is volunteer, and all these Nazi battalions, so-called voluntary battalions, are using Nazi symbolism, and that's what Putin is actually saying, before the start of this campaign, saying that we want to denazify Ukraine.
Доброго дня.
Доброго дня. Як тебе звати?
Артур.
Артур, дуже приємно. Як ти думаєш, як закінчиться війна в Україні?
Я хочу сподіватися, що нашою перемогою, але виходячи з ситуації, яка зараз є, в це дуже мало віриться. І найкращий шлях для нашого керівництва і для головнокомандуюча – це сісти за стіл перемовин.
But Zelensky rejects the negotiation at the legitimate level. He stated a law which prohibits any negotiations with Russia.
І знаходити якісь спільні точки соприкосновення, бо дуже багато людей помирає, дуже багато хлопців з Закарпаття, я сам родом з Закарпаття, однокласники мої, без рук, без ніг, сім'ї втрачають своїх молодих хлопців.
By the way, the World War II started basically because of Zakarpattia, because Zakarpattia was a small region, autonomous region in Slovakia, which was separated from Czech Republic after Munich Treaty, Munich conspiracy, when British and French gave away the Czechoslovakia to Hitler, and Hitler accepted Czech Republic, accepted the split of Czechoslovakia, and didn't occupy Slovakia. And also he played a big role in creating this Zakarpattian Ukraine with all these nationalist battalions that were brought there from Poland, from other small regions which Ukrainians lived in, and they were having these Nazi battalions that were trying to fight Slovaks and Czechs everywhere on Zakarpattia. But after it just was assigned to Hungary. That's what pissed off the British, because they wanted Hitler to obtain the whole Czechoslovakia so he could get an access to Ukraine of Soviet Union, Ukrainian Soviet Republic, and that was probably their goal, because they needed Hitler to reach the Soviet border so they can push Hitler further, pumping his power and might with Czech production and Czech facilities and Czech professional workers and the manpower of these national battalions. And that would be the conflict between Soviet Union and Nazi Germany to be started as a war. But Hitler didn't play as good as British wanted, and he that was the first step when they turned from him to praise him to make him a demon. They started demonizing him only in March 1939. By the way, Hitler got in power in 1933, and the start of the war was in 1939. So both of these numbers are 33.
І, на мою думку, ця війна – це геноцид української молоді.
By the way, as he's saying, in my opinion, the war is genocide of Ukrainian youth. If we take a look what genocide is in numerology, we will find it's 33 and 44. Holocaust, which is also mentioned in this story here, as you can see. Holocaust. Let's see, maybe in this article. Yes. So Polanski layered the film with illusions that were hard not to interpret as autobiographical. He had survived the Holocaust by hiding, and claustrophobia of his traumatic childhood returns in the film. Images of a victimized woman trapped in an apartment, compelled to be quiet, out of grave fear of the neighbors, staying alive, of being betrayed because of whom she chose to trust. So this is all related, by the way. Okay, let's go back to this guy.
Так я вам скажу. Як би це громко не звучало.
Ну, хто винен в цьому? Росія чи наша влада також частково?
Само собою, що Росія, так як вона вторглася до нас на територію, а не ми до них. Але і левина доля нашої влади також в цьому є. Мені кажеться, це просто відмив грошей.
So the guy understands Russia is guilty, his government is guilty, because it's just money laundering.
Тому що та допомога, що надходила до нас на Закарпаття, гуманітарна, ми знаходили її в магазинах. Тобто не зовсім є прозорість, куди уходять кошти, куди уходить гуманітарна допомога. І тому виникає дуже багато запитань до нашої влади.
So how many money was already given to Ukraine? Some say it's 200 billion, some say it's 300 billion, or even more. How many donations, which are not even counted? How many humanitarian aid, which is not even counted? It all was stolen partially, of course. Not everything, but partially was stolen.
Я рахую, що воєнний стан, він же ж не мав продовжитися, мала бути об'явлена війна. Тобто наш головнокомандувач сам вибирає нові правила гри, продовжує свій термін президентства.
Yeah, by the way, Zelensky rejected to make elections this year. His term has already finished. In May 21st, his term is finished. Right now, he is illegal. And what is Putin saying currently? That he cannot actually discuss anything with Zelensky because he is illegitimate president.
Тобто, ось так у нас виходить. Або еліти Росії, або еліти Заходу можуть це зупинити. Тобто, я думаю, навіть наші еліти в цьому безсильні. А щодо простих українців, ну я не знаю, вони, звичайно, можемо багато робити для того, щоб зупиняти Росію, перемагати її там на фронтах. Але це не буде як явна перемога чи щось типу цього.
А що ти думаєш з приводу заморозки конфлікту?
Мені здається, можливо, для нас навіть хороший варіант, але в тому випадку, якщо будуть, ну, наприклад, миротворчі війська там зі сторони Америки чи Китаю, щоб вони там стали навколо фронту, там в 16 смуг забетонували все.
So basically, he would welcome U.S. troops in his country just to freeze the conflict. That's the democracy of Ukraine. That's the current state of propaganda and manipulation and brainwashing of people.
І миротворців посадили, і тоді, можливо, просто нікому не буде вигідно щось починати, тому що от якась така ситуація, але це знову ж таки, я навіть не знаю, наскільки це реально, наскільки реально забетонуватися, чи наскільки реально там, щоб миротворці знаходились.
In your opinion, how do you think the war in Ukraine will end?
Well, there's only one way it can end. Ukraine must win.
This guy is probably earning some money in Ukraine. That's why he's pro-war and he's speaking good English. I think he is a mercenary or maybe a drafted voluntarily or mercenary who is working for some economic purposes, or maybe even a spy. Who knows?
You know, the future of all of Europe depends on it, not just Ukraine. So.
Future of all Europe depends on it. So basically the narrative is if Ukraine fails to stop Russia, the whole Europe is going to be in danger because Russians are coming. Jump off your window, guys.
And hopefully the allies will get their asses in gear and will provide the weapons you need to accomplish this victory once and for all.
So there's only one way for us to win if the West will provide for us everything we need and even more.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, provide us with nuclear weapons, maybe. So the next clip is the press conference between German leader and French leader Macron and Scholz. And so Scholz is supporting providing long-range missiles to Ukraine just because they need to protect themselves. But a couple of weeks ago, he was saying he is against those missiles being shot at the Russian territory, at old Russian territory, only on occupied territory. but now he is pro this decision, so saying that he is okay with it.
Alors comment on explique aux Ukrainiens qu'il va falloir...
So this is Macron's speech. So how do we explain to the Ukrainians that we are going to have to protect?
Protéger ces villes et au fond tout ce qu'on voit en ce moment autour de Kharkiv. Si on leur dit... Alors comment on explique aux Ukrainiens...
So how do we explain to the Ukrainians that we are going to have to protect
qu'il va falloir protéger ces villes et au fond tout ce qu'on voit
these towns and basically everything we want around Kharkiv at the moment?
en ce moment autour de Kharkiv. Si on leur dit vous n'avez pas le droit d'atteindre le point...
If we tell them you are not allowed to reach the point where the missiles are fired from,
d'où sont tirés les missiles.
We tell them we're supplying you with the weapons, but you can't defend yourself.
En fait, on leur dit on vous livre des armes, mais vous ne pouvez pas vous défendre. Donc nous, on reste...
We stay exactly within the same framework.
C'est exactement dans le même cadre. On pense qu'on doit leur permettre de neutraliser.
We think that we should allow them to neutralize the military sites.
Neutraliser les sites militaires d'où sont tirés.
From which the missiles are fired.
Les missiles, et au fond, les sites militaires depuis lesquels l'Ukraine...
The missiles are basically the military sites from which Ukraine is attacked.
L'Ukraine est agressée, mais on ne doit pas permettre...
But we must not allow them to hit other targets in Russia. The oil refineries that they hit in mostly every day.
De toucher d'autres cibles en Russie.
But we must not allow them to hit other targets in Russia, but, you know, they're hitting other targets in Russia. They're hitting the civilian objects. They're hitting the shell in the city of Donetsk on a daily basis. They shell in Belgorod region on a daily basis. So that's a new and old Russian territory, and they're shelling it for years. Donetsk has been shelled for 10 years already.
Évidemment, des capacités.
Obviously, civilian capabilities or other military targets.
Civiles ou d'autres cibles militaires. Quand c'est depuis des
When Ukraine is attacked from identified targets in Russia,
eh bien, je pense
then we think we must allow them to do so if we really want to achieve our objective.
Si on veut véritablement retenir notre objectif, et je crois pouvoir...
And I think I can say that factually we are not escalating by doing this, really. Really.
Pouvoir dire que factuellement nous ne sommes pas escalatoires en faisant cela.
Since it is Russia that is organizing itself in this way.
Puisque c'est la Russie qui s'organise de cette façon.
So basically what he's saying that he's not escalating, although as you can see, this is not reaching the Moscow, it's reaching most of the European part of Russia, all the way to Caucasus Mountains. And that's what they're trying to allow Ukrainians to shell Russia with, and not saying they are not escalating, although it's their personnel that is there in Ukraine and assigning missiles to do their job, to hit the targets in Russia. So I think that is a war case, the case of war. Okay? So this is what we are heading to currently, guys. What I'm saying is this is all staged, knowing that both Ukraine and Russia are on the 33rd year of their independence from Soviet Union, and there's already 3 years of war. 3 years, which is also 33. I must say that it's highly likely that this is happening in front of our eyes. And what I've been saying prior to this video and way back in the days, 6 years ago, I've been saying about Trump saying or decoding 6 years of peace, and he's supposed to win. He was supposed to win the election, as what I was figuring, but he didn't. And now we have this Orange Man return prior to the start of the World War III. So, guys, I wish it won't happen, but who knows? Who knows? Okay. So, also very interesting fact. There's another thing happening in the backyard, and I would start from this global pandemic treaty that is not agreed to be signed. It's supposed to be signed on 25th of May, basically creating the law, international law, that is supposed to be the leading law in the world, which assigns every country to follow this treaty and give vaccines to everybody prior to start of the new pandemic, even if it's not even announced yet, just to give vaccines and so on to everybody, to make it mandatory. And it failed to be signed, so that's a good point. So maybe this will give us more time. Maybe it's because the war is starting and there's no need of that. Remember the time that COVID was happening and Putin just said that we invading Ukraine because we want to denazify it, and everybody forgot about COVID-19 after that. So Putin saved the world, I would say. And currently, maybe the war is the plan A, because pandemia could be the plan B of the depopulation agenda. Okay? And if we know what COVID is standing for, it's basically COVID, it's coronavirus 2019, coronavirus 2019, or COVID 2019. So it's 33, as everything else in this video. And basically we have to remember that what COVID stands for. Okay? And there was another very interesting video that I wanted to show you guys. It was posted in it was posted in 1997. It was in a show called One on One. Взгляд is basically the TV show program company. That's their logo. That was presenting before any video. As you can see here, for example, if we start this, let's see. That's the guy at the logo. Basically, vid could be translated as sight or view. Okay, and this guy is just a picture from Chinese philosopher Guoxian, and Guoxian is Pythagoras 44. So basically, this presents that the view itself, which is OCNI, could be, said as translated the view, the eye, the vision, and the mask of a dead philosopher from China, whose name is Guoxian, which is 44. Okay, so video is significant because it's it's a battle, a debate between two guys with the same start of last name. First is Ukrainian President Kravchuk, and the second, and the second guy is Karaganov. So basically, it's Kr Kravchuk, first president of Ukraine, against Russian politician, political scientist Karaganov, who is working on this Ukraine issue. And what is significant is that they are talking the whole debate here and around 8 minutes, something happens to the record, and we see a little switch or transition, which is smoothly done by the author of the YouTube channel, because they re-uploaded this video in 6 years ago, and there's comments. In this video, there's a fragment around 9:53 where Alexander Lubimov, the guy who is interviewing them, who is hosting the show, said that on a military drills in Pentagon, there was a war between Russia and USA, Russia and China from one side and USA from the other side. And so, yes, really, they cut this fragment out 6 years ago and re-uploaded the video. So if we go to this particular part that was cut out, we can hear what they say. Ukraine wants to live normally. With Europe as it lives with Russia. I know that recently, let's try to go to English auto translate so we can see also what I'm saying. And let's go again to the start. Украина хочет жить нормально с Европой, так же, как и нормально с Россией. Ukraine wants to live normally with Europe as well as normally with Russia.
Я знаю, тут недавно
And I know that recently in
в одной из академий американских
one of the American academies,
проводились
staff exercise or drills
учения,
were held,
и там
and there is in a
гипотетически
hypothetical 2000
какой-то 25
or some or so in 25, so 2025 or so probably could be 2024, 2026, any year.
разрабатывается
A situation is being developed or projected that Russia
Америка воюет с двумя
and America
государствами,
at
Китаем
war with
и
two
Россией.
states. So America is at war with two states, China and Russia, and the cause
Причина войны
of
как раз
the
то, что
war
Украина
is
начала войну с
the cause of war is since Ukraine started the war
Россией на
with
стороне
Russia.
Так считают в России.
On the side of NATO, they think so. So basically, he's saying that he knows that there were drills, hypothetical situation when Ukraine starts a war with Russia on the side of NATO, and he asked the questions here.
России тоже, как и в Америке, что Россия может начать воевать с
So they think that Russia can start fighting
Украиной, если
with
Украина
Ukraine
НАТО.
if Ukraine is in the NATO. As what saying Professor Jeffrey Sachs in the interview said that that's a big red line for Russia and so on. So basically, in 1997, the president of Ukraine, the first president of Ukraine, is discussing with Russian Ukraine specialists, political specialists. Both of them have the last name starting with CR, like Carlson, and so on. So these two agents of parasites are trying to debate on a TV show, talking about the future prediction of the start of a war, big war between USA versus China / Russia. And the cause was Ukraine war with Russia on the side of NATO. So Ukraine was on the side of NATO, Russia on the other side. So what you thinking about this? Write me in the comments, guys. This is all related. This is how the things are developing and how this military phase of the reset, the great reset, is going on. So that's it for today, because it's already pretty big video. Probably I'll make some additions in the nearest future. The situation with YouTube viewers and YouTube algorithm censorship is still ongoing. They're showing my video only to those who are subscribed. although previously it was like 45% subscribed people, 55% unsubscribed, and for years. And just after I got censorship issue like 3 years ago, when they said, and I was trying to understand what's going on, why they're pressing my channel down so much, I understood that they are starting to do this thing to me as to put me in a situation when my videos are not promoted by the algorithm. So if you don't write comments, if you don't like, if you don't share, nobody's gonna view it. The subscribed people are also, if haven't been reaching me out for a while, they can see it in notifications or anywhere as what people write in the comments. So please do your job. Just do the promotion of my videos, because it's very important for people to understand. Pretty soon I'm gonna talk about the call to action, actual action, not words, not predictions, not prognosis or whatever. It's gonna be very interesting. Okay, pretty much soon. Just let me handle my bees, and see you guys later. Bye.